Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. And I'm just going to get into this one. I'm going to skip the intro stuff I usually like to do. We are talking about Brandy's Never Say Never. Now, I knew I was not going to be happy going into this album, and I was not surprised. I was not happy when I listened to this album. Oh, I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna give all this detail right at the beginning. I'm just gonna go through this. I wrote down notes. I got through this album once. That's it. There was no repeat listenings. All right. So the intro, literally, they're called intro. Starts off interesting, car kind of revving up, going off, kind of thing, and then rapidly I lose interest and it turns into filler. That leads into Angel in Disguise. Starts off spoken word. I'm all of a sudden intrigued. Just a little bit. I'm like, whoa, we're getting a little spoken word here. Maybe I have misjudged Brandy. Maybe I'm in for an artistic treat. Then you hit about the 1 minute marker, and I have given her way too much credit. Boring, cliche tripe for the genre. You know, like this genre of music, it's boring and cliche by that standard. And I mean, I usually bag on 90s R&B to start with. I find it's quite a joke compared to, like 70s R&B and stuff like that. And this is like the worst cliche of everything there is about 90s R&B. And I'm stating this not based on my preferences, based on actual R&B, right? Okay. Anyways, the other thing too is every song on this album, I'm going to mention this a few times and eventually I'll quit, but tends to run a little long. And when I mean long, I mean it actually runs a little long. Like most of the songs are over 4 minutes. I think there was one song, not including the little snippet parts that are in there, which there's two of those, not including those. I think there was one song that went under 4 minutes, and that was it. But this one is 4 minutes and 47 seconds, and basically the elongated section in there is for a water dripping kind of effect that's supposed to sound like tears, more or less. And it's completely lost in the extreme repetitiveness of the overall song. There's really every song on this album could have been drastically trimmed down. Huge. This was overbloated. Every song on this album is overbloated to the extreme. Like they all should have been cut down to like 2.5, maybe 3 minute, songs, like proper radio edit length songs. Way overblown. Because they don't do anything. They really don't. Like it's not even a vocal showcase like you would get with Celine Dion's album, as much as I bagged on Celine Dion when I did that review. You're not even getting like a vocal showcase you get from Celine Dion. Okay, so let's move on. We go into track 3, which is "The Boy Is Mine." At this point, listening to it was when I decided that's it. I'm only going through this once, and I'm taking notes as I'm listening to this thing because I know I'm only getting through this thing once. So this one, once again, we're talking generic on every level. I don't understand how she got popular enough off this to translate it into a television acting career. I believe that's how that went. I'm not a Brandy fan, clearly, and I'll be honest, I thought her show was garbage too. It was boring, generic tripe. Like there was nothing good about it at all as far as I'm concerned. I don't understand how she transferred one into the other. And I do remember Brandy's, sitcom. I think it was a sitcom called Brandy. I never really laughed watching it. I didn't understand how it lasted as many seasons as it did. Like I honestly thought it should have been a one and done. I don't get what the push was on it. And it's the same thing with her music at this point. I'm already there. It's just cliche garbage with rehash over and over. Nothing spectacular at all. All right, moving on to Learn the Hard Way. Okay, need to start addressing the vocals on this one. Specifically, the use of multi-tracking vocals. Yes, multi-tracking is a great tool, and it can be used to add emphasis or to make vocal sound better. In the case of making vocal sound better, Ozzy uses quite a bit of multi-tracking. That's kind of how he gets that. Either that or they're using an effect, but that's where you get that phase harmonic you hear in his voice. It sounds just slightly off. I've used it myself quite a bit. Rob Zombie, I can hear it quite a bit in his stuff. So there's a lot of times where you can use it to make vocals sound better, sound richer, sound fuller. Or you can use an effect pedal where you just set the frame rate on the delay slightly off. You know, I've done it that way for studio purposes. And this is not that. This is definitely proper multi tracking through multi singing the track over and over again. But it is abused so badly already at this point that when we get to this song, Learn the Hard Way, it's been used so badly that when it's being used properly, like it is on this album, on this particular song, it loses all its effect. Like, really, I'm just whatever. I'm completely tuned out. And it's completely lost its meaning to have the multi-tracking vocals on there. It really, at this point, all I can think of is her voice has really got to be kind of weak, or it's got to be kind of frail, or it can't be as good as it is for all the multi-tracking they're doing on here. And I get into that as we go into more tracks further down here. I'm also going to mention one more time, and then I'm not mentioning it again. The songs are way too long, and the repetitiveness of the songs makes them seem infinitely longer than they are. Um, I was recently watching something where someone was complaining about that with Metallica, how they always stretch out that intro just one time extra, the repeat on the riff, just that one extra time to stretch it out that much longer on the intro, and that one extra time at the end just to stretch it out that one more time, and that extra gratuitous 2-3 measures of solo in the middle, and 2 or 3 extra riffs thrown in there just to throw them in there. Okay, so at this point, the repetitiveness of the background vocals, which are all multi-tracked, and I'm assuming they're all Brandy. I can't read the liner notes. There's so many liner notes in here and production notes in here, and they're so small, and the color palette that was chosen to do it makes it really difficult, especially, like I hate to say it, I'm getting up there in age. I would have had an easier time reading it when this album first came out, when I was a younger man. But now, no, just wouldn't happen. Um, so, wow, this album's old. Jeez, I just realized how old this album is. Okay. We're gonna move on from my complaints about all that. I'm gonna try not to bring it up and mention it again. Next song up, almost doesn't count. The beats are so basic, and once again, that repetitiveness, that I actually didn't notice that the song had changed from the previous track to this track at first. Like the literal drum beat that they're using, the sample beat, is basically the same thing almost the whole way through. And I have a diatribe coming on that one. Moving on, Top of the World featuring Maze. Now, when I put on my computer, it comes up $E, so I thought maybe it was supposed to be Madollary? I thought it was supposed to be something cute, and then I'm like, no, it can't be something as stupid as an S for a $, could it? Like Kesha did. Or Ked dollar, huh? Sorry. Yeah, it is. It's Maze. So, now, Maze is on here providing a little hip hop at the beginning, a little rapping going on, all like woo, until you actually listen to what's going on, and you're like, holy crap, man, this is boring, really boring. The bass line's decent. The bass line is actually pretty decent, and the bass line had been jacked into the mix a little bit more and given an actual drum beat behind it, something to give it some pulse, some love, some rhythm, something to make it sound like it was woohoo. It might have sounded a little better. But on top of that, what you do have in there is turntable scratching that honestly sounds like it's after added in studio effects, and this is something I've used myself. The music program I use for writing electronic music on, and yes, I have provided samples in a previous video of me just screwing around. Um, the scratch there, I have so many different types of scratches in there. It's unreal. So I'm used to hearing it, and that's what this sounds like, really. It might have been real scratching, but that's not what it sounded like. And if it was real scratching, oh my god, what did they do? Get someone's, little white nephew that, thinks he's a DJ to come in and do it? No, not cool, man. Oh, all right. Then we go on to the song You Don't Know Me Like You Used to. Now, the way this is spelled out on here, they replace the word you, Y-O-U, with the letter U. By today's standards for internet talking, that's pretty normal. For 98, yeah, it was a little cliche of the hip hop world, but, not overly normal. And to be completely honest, I'm so distracted by this going, why the hell did you do something like this? It doesn't even look cool, because when you look at everything else on this album, it just looks like, someone trying to get some, at the time, uh, because of, like, say, gangster rap and stuff like that. I'm going to use this really lightly, especially coming from a white guy. It's going to sound horrible, but anyways, it's almost like she put it in here to try and get some type of, like, ghetto cred, and it looks just really dumb, like really, really dumb. It's kind of like what her show was like. Really, same idea here. I just, I don't get it. So I'm so distracted by this whole you thing that I didn't notice how boring this song actually was until I actually went, Jesus, man, this song is boring. And, it's really boring as the drum programming that's completely turning me off at this point. Like, whoever did the drum programming for this album really did a disservice to drum programming the whole way around. There's no life to this whatsoever, okay? And this album came out in 1998, all right? At this point, I'm playing with Cakewalk on a computer that wasn't even a full Pentium 2. And, if you're a kid watching this, you have no clue what I'm talking about. If you're, old enough to understand that, you get where I'm going with this. And I was creating way better drum sounds on Cakewalk on I think it was a Pentium 166, than this album has at all. And this was like a major studio produced album, right? So it's just like, what the hell crap is this? It's heartbreaking, really. Then you get to Never Say Never. This is the title track of the album. It's only the halfway point, and I'm thinking to myself, dear baby Jesus, what did I do to myself? Really not enjoying this album. Like, I mean, it is so boring. All right. Have I ever... I actually remembered this song. I actually remembered this song from back in the day, but I thought it was from one of the girl groups. Well, I was thinking like probably TLC, not Destiny's Child, because Destiny's Child's music, I remember a lot of it having some real pulse and some real life to it and stuff like that. Whereas TLC, I don't remember having a lot of life. Now that just could be because Waterfalls is the only song I can think of. And was that TLC? I want to say that was TLC. I'm not even going to double check because I really don't care. It was a horrible song that was way overplayed. Okay. So if someone wants to let me know in the comments, that'd be great. What song was I talking about? Oh yeah, Never Say Never. Yeah, that was it. That's all I had to say. On to, oh no, sorry, I was talking about Have You Ever. That's all I had to say about that either. Except for the reason why I thought it was a girl group is because the multi-tracking on the voice, which I've already mentioned. Most of the vocals on here, I'm assuming they're all Brandy. I think. Once again, production credits. Um, and she does great background vocals. Let's move on to Truthfully. This is typical throwaway music from the time, even like not even by Brandy, this whole album is just really, but this was really bad throwaway music even for its time. It's no different than any other slow song wise from like this style of music. Then you're on to Have You Ever? No, I already covered those. Sorry. That's how boring and bad this is that I'm losing track in my own notes. All right. Put that on everything. Okay, so after Have You Ever, you get to put that on everything. Wow, I am so sorry. At this point, I'm convinced that Brandy is the Coldplay of R&B, and it's not real R&B either. There's no pulse to this. There's no life to this. No soul, no personality. I thought her acting was wooden on her TV show Brandy. That is the same woodenness here. Then we get to the In the Car interlude. So I was thinking, okay, this could be interesting. Maybe it's a takeoff and a continuation of the previous narrative. And no, no. When it comes to these kind of like little interludes and CDs, they were really popular, especially throughout the later 90s, just as kind of fillers, right? People wanted to get maximum fillage on the CD. Some bands did it well. Typo Negative honestly did it well, and they consistently did it well. It was either humorous, but you expected that from Typo Negative, or it was just kind of something that worked into the next song, whatever. But Typo Negative always did it and did it really cool and really well. I mean, they had a couple misses, but one or two misses isn't bad. Marilyn Manson could be really hit and miss with doing them. And even recently, I just mentioned Eminem was kind of hit and miss with them when I was listening to him on his album there. Then there's some where they're complete misses. Everyone's a miss. Everyone's a miss. None of them work. I didn't find anything useful out of any of them. It was just kind of like, what's going on? I wasn't entirely sure, and it just was not my thing. All right, so let's move on here. Okay, so that takes us into the song "Happy." I wish it was happy like that other song. I'm happy. That'd be great because that would have some real great pulse to it, some real great vibe. And more me, no. This one is okay. It is a little more upbeat, and it does actually have a pulse to a degree with it. This is something like I've mentioned in other reviews of this type of music specifically, and even other reviews. When I was a kid, I used to go roller skating a lot. I loved going. It was called wheels roller skating. I used to love and go. My dad used to take me and my sister. That's how we started going. When my parents first got divorced, he used to take us like every weekend. It was a way to spend time with us, and it wasn't overly expensive, and we could have a good afternoon that way. And it was wonderful. It was fantastic. And it was a shame that it didn't keep going longer than it did. It's some of my happier memories, honestly, with my dad and when my parents first got divorced. And so songs like this, when I talk about them and say they remind me of roller skating or whatnot, it's got that kind of vibe because I was doing this. You're talking the late '80s. My parents separated in '88, so a lot of when I first started roller skating, a lot of my roller skating would have been around '88 or so. I think I started roller skating just a little bit before that, before my parents divorced. I'm not 100% sure. I know they took me as a little kid to try and go roller skating. So, anyways, this kind of reminds me of that, and I don't dance, so I always liken stuff to roller skating. So I could dance this, but it's kind of like a Jackson throwaway song. It's not overly impressive. All right. Now we're on to One Voice. Right back to the slow, boring stuff again. So you had one song on this entire album that felt like it had some type of life to it, some type of pulse to it, and it was still a boring throwaway Janet Jackson track. All right. This next part, I'm going to apologize in advance. It's going to sound like a little, to me, even when I think about it in my head, it sounds a little racist. It's not meant to sound racist. It's the best way I know how to describe this, how it goes, okay? And anybody who actually knows what I'm talking about knows I'm not trying to be racist. It's a legit thing, okay? So, Brandy, I'm convinced someone tried somewhere along the way to convince her that she needed to sound more like all the white pop singers that were popular at that time, as opposed to sounding like a black girl singing at that time. Because the singing on here, like when she's doing on this song, you hear a lot, one voice. So it's her just singing predominantly by herself. And on this song, she sounds like it could be Brittany, or it could be Jessica, or it could be Christina, or it could be one of the Spice Girls doing one of their solo songs. You know, I've already mentioned TLC, and there's a little Destiny's Child with the background harmonies and stuff like that, where it sounds a little bit like that. But I always thought that those female groups, like when you listen to, like vocal groups like the Supremes, from back in the day, black girls sounded like black girls. This is where I apologize for the racist sounding. And listening to Brandy on here, she sounds like, honestly, someone told her to sing more like a white girl than sing like a black girl, and try and sound more like a white girl than a black girl. Because you don't hear the Tina Turner in there. You don't hear the Janet Jackson in there. There's no that slightly natural lower register that happens a little bit. That little depth that black people get in their voice. Even black guys compared to, white guys. There's that little extra kind of bass, kind of oomph in the voice that's not there. There's a few things. It's not there. And it's like when vocal wise, comparatively apples to oranges, Christina Aguilera, the album that I already covered of hers a couple of reviews ago, sounds way more like a black girl singing than Brandy sounds like on here. Like this whole album sounds like it's white. It sounds like a white person album. Like someone took their white niece who has a pretty voice, has a nice okay voice, but it's okay for basic white girl, like Christina Aguilera, way up there. Like Britney has more pulse in life going on, even with that sad little whispery kind of vocals that she's always doing. Yeah, Brittany is probably the best comparison until I get a little bit later on into the next song. Not the next song, last song. Okay, so then the next song is Tomorrow. This song just continues what I was saying, but add orchestra and piano to it. Now we're sounding a little more maybe Sarah McLachlan meets Nelly Furtado. Because it reminds me of that that Fly song from Nelly Furtado. Anyways, moving on. Last song. And I didn't realize this until I wrote it down while I was writing my notes. And the last song is Everything I Do It For You. The Bryan Adams, Everything I Do. Take the most white Canadian rocker you can find. The dude glows in the dark. He is so pale. Take everything I said already. And oh my God. This is why I felt like I could get away with this to a small. Why the hell would anybody give her this song to do? Oh my God. Oh. And this is not a good cover either. She does nothing to make it sound cool. She makes it more boring. Bryan Adams' voice, well, Brandy clearly has the better voice. Bryan Adams' voice at least adds some character to the song. This is just... Imagine going out to a karaoke bar, okay? And someone's got a karaoke rendition of this song. But it's not a Bryan Adams cover karaoke. It's like someone decided to neuter it and make it mellow so they could handle singing it. And yeah, that's this. Oh my God. Oh, wow. All right, folks. I'm just going to leave it there. Give me your comments. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, the little bell for notifications. Link below to Patreon. Oh, my voice is so dry now. Peace, love, take care.